Hi, this is Yuvraj, and today I'm going to be talking about the physiology of the heart. I'm going to be labeling all the parts of the heart, I'm going to demonstrate blood flow through the heart, and I'm also going to be talking about Lub and Dub. So let's get started. Let's start with this big vessel up here, which is the superior vena cava, or the SVC. Superior just means above, so this giant vein is bringing all the blood from above the shoulders, or above the heart. And then if we go to this big vessel over here, this is the inferior vena cava, or the IVC. And this brings all the blood from below the heart back to the right atrium, or this chamber of the heart, the right atrium. And when we talk about right and left, this is the patient's right and left. So this would be the right side of their body. And this is the right atrium, the first chamber of the heart. And then we have here, the next chamber of the heart, the right ventricle. And this is responsible for pumping blood to the lungs to get oxygenated. And then and besides, from the right atrium to the right ventricle, we have this valve here. This valve is the tricuspid valve. It's supposed to have 3 cusps, but I can't draw it on a 2-dimensional screen. And then from the right ventricle, it gets pumped in this big artery. And this artery is the pulmonary artery, which brings blood to the lungs. Next, when blood comes back, it comes through these pulmonary veins. So these are pulmonary veins, and also these are pulmonary veins. And usually when people think about arteries and veins, they think of arteries containing red blood and veins containing blue blood. But this isn't the case. This is a pulmonary artery and it contains deoxygenated or blue blood. And these veins bring back red blood. And it's not really blue blood, it's just a darker red. When we see our veins here, it's just the way light works. And the blood goes into the left atrium, like the right atrium, but it's the left side. Then here we have another valve, the mitral valve, or the bicuspid valve. This one is the only one that has 2 cusps. And this is another valve here. This is the pulmonary or pulmonic valve. And then this one is the aortic valve. And because this structure here, this big blood vessel, this is the aorta. The aorta. And this blood vessel brings blood to the head, and these, the head and arms, and also it goes down and brings blood to the lower part. Then this is the most muscular chamber of all, the left ventricle, which pumps blood all throughout the body. And this is the ventricular septum here, which separates the 2 ventricles, so the ventricular septum. And then here, it turns into the atrial septum. So that's it with labeling all the parts of the heart. So now I'm going to demonstrate blood flow through the heart and how it circulates through the heart. So it all starts with the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. And deoxygenated blood, which I'm going to represent with blue, it comes through these giant vessels. And they both come in to the right atrium, and it fills up. And this is where the coronary veins that supply the heart, it's where they come, empty into the right atrium. They empty directly. And then it goes through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. And then it fills up here too. And then when the ventricles contract, the blood is ejected into the pulmonary artery. And then it splits off and goes into the right and left lung. And then it gets oxygenated in the pulmonary capillaries. And then it comes back as oxygenated blood, which I'm going to represent as red. And then it comes in these 4 pulmonary veins. And it comes out and fills up the left atrium. Then it comes down into the left ventricle. And then when the ventricles contract, it's pushed out into the aorta. And supplies the body with oxygenated blood. And then it comes back and the cycle starts again. And one thing I want to mention is the same time the right atrium is filling up, the left atrium is also filling up. So this is a continued cycle. So, and now I'm going to color the whole heart with the blood that fills it up. And this is going to be fast forwarded, so enjoy! now I finished coloring all the blood that goes and circulates through the heart, and that's the blood flow through the heart. So now that we're done with talking about all the parts of the heart and the blood flow through the heart, let's talk about Lub and Dub, or S1 and S2. So you have to understand that there are two stages in the heart cycle. There's systole and diastole. Systole is the ejection phase of the heart, and the ventricles are contracting and ejecting the blood through the to the lungs and the body, and in that same time, the atria, they are filling up with blood. And in that cycle, these two valves, the aortic and pulmonic valves, they're actually open to let the blood flow through them. So that the blood can flow through them into the body and the lungs. And while the atria are filling up with blood, while the blood is getting ejected, the tricuspid and mitral valve, as you see here, they're closed, so that blood can't flow into the ventricles right away. And that's systole. Now diastole is the filling phase for the ventricles. So the mitral valve and the tricuspid valve are going to be open. To let the blood fill the ventricles. And then the pulmonic and aortic valve are going to close to prevent a black flow of blood. So that's diastole. Now, when you hear the aortic the tricuspid and the mitral valve close for systole, that makes a snapping sound, and that sound is what we refer as to S1 or Lub. That's what we hear when doctors hear when they listen to the heart with the stethoscope. The closing of the tricuspid and mitral valves. And these valves are actually open. These valves are open, nice and open, to let blood flow go through the lungs and to the body. And during diastole, when the aortic and pulmonic valves snap shut, that's when you hear dub or S2. And that time, of course, these two valves are open. So that's all about Lub and Dub. Thank you so much for joining me about talking about the physiology of the heart. See you next video. Bye.